3 states had been moved closer to Kamala Harris: Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, in considered a gold standard poll, New York Times Siena. It is now Harris 50, Trump 46 in all 3 of those states, polling likely voters, which is what we care about. That's not good for Donald Trump at all. And they're reporting that it's due to stronger position than Joe Biden had with most demographic groups, including white voters without a college degree. So she is doing better with the working class, whatever part I think of the Democratic coalition that is, than Biden was. On top of that, the Cook Political Report on Thursday moved from lean Republican to toss-up Arizona, Georgia, and Nevada. So that's bad news for Trump in both the Sun Belt and the Rust Belt. And what exactly is Team Trump doing about it? I'm not sure. Emily. Trump, to his credit, came out and did, an hour-plus presser on Friday, answered a bunch of questions. All the media does is take the latest controversy. He told some story allegedly involving Willie Brown and Trump on a helicopter that Willie Brown's denying, and Trump says it's true. And then they said there's another black Democrat in California who he might have confused Willie Brown for. I haven't heard Trump's answer to that. That's what the media went with. He's doing a Spaces with Elon tonight at 8. But the point is his messaging is getting snuffed out. He's not getting a ton of earned media coverage the way he did in 2016. And I just don't know what Team Trump's plan is to right this ship.
Some of it is absolutely his fault. Some of it is, I don't know how any Republican could be even polling close to where he's polling in those swing states and in the national polls with this level of media hype for Kamala Harris, with this level of media dishonesty for Kamala Harris, with this level of propaganda for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. I mean, it's been absolutely insane. And sometimes I think even myself, I forget and take for granted how crazy it is that any Republican runs as close as they do with Democrats in this country, given the treatment that Democrats have been getting over the last several weeks. I mean, the copy that you just read from in Time Magazine, if someone sent that to me as an editor, if I sent someone to a rally and they brought that back to me, I would say Kamala Harris had a very splashy launch when she was running for president back in 2019, and it fizzled. So maybe that's the story. Maybe when the story is that when Kamala Harris's honeymoon ends, when people like Donald Trump, Republicans, start running in Pennsylvania ads about her energy policies, ads about her relationship with the Green New Deal, ads about her relationship with Tim Walz and his policy towards LGBT students. When those ads start running and she has to start doing interviews to the extent she has to, and to the extent they'll ask her good questions, what happens then? Everyone can put on a good show when it's stage managed and the media loves you. What happens afterwards? And so I think some of this is it is a little bit of a honeymoon. On the other hand, on my show last week on Undercurrents, I did a whole segment about where I think the Trump campaign is going wrong. They're not talking as much as they used to about powerful corporations that have allied with each other, with big tech companies, with people on Wall Street to censor speech, to go after the American worker. He can talk about immigration. He does talk about immigration, but he's not framing it in the way that he did back in 2016, which is, looking out for the little guy. He does some of it, but I think he does need to do a lot more of it to overcome the obstacle that is extremely hostile media coverage to him and extremely friendly media coverage to his opponent, especially in those swing states.
The New York Times reporting, Eliana, that this is the worst 3 weeks of the Trump campaign, and saying that at a fundraising event recently, Trump said, those reports that I was nicer after getting shot were false. I'm not nicer. And then he was asked by some of the donors about getting back on message on some of the policy disagreements between the two of them and maybe steering off of the personal. And Trump's response was, I am who I am. So I don't know. I'm not saying he shouldn't attack her personally ever. I feel like if I were Trump, I'd want to do that too, given all that she said about him. But somehow they need a different message to get out there, or they need their message to be more ubiquitous. And it just doesn't seem like his punches are landing, or I don't really even see a bunch of haymakers being thrown by him with the potential to land the way we're more used to with him.
He doesn't have a disciplined, consistent message that he's getting out. His, his big tweet over the weekend was about the size of her crowds, which he also went on about at that press conference in that tweet or on Truth Social, he said her crowds are AI generated and this is a big fraud. That's something he really doesn't need to be talking about. It's not going to move voters in this election. Look, of course, these are the 3 worst weeks of his campaign. He had a candidate who he was beating handily replaced by a candidate with a pulse. So that goes without saying that these were going to be hard weeks. The more concerning thing is that he is not driving home a consistent and disciplined message. Trump retains an issue advantage on the economy and on immigration, which consistently voters say are the most important issues to them. So anytime he spends in press conferences or out on the campaign trail talking about anything besides that and pointing out that her record, that we don't know where she stands on these issues and we don't know what her policies are, is wasted, lost time. If he doesn't change this and find a message that he's going to drive home consistently, he's going to lose.
All we heard from him in 15 and 16 was China, build the wall, make America great again. It was so simple. You could recite it in your sleep. Can you do that this time around, Emily? It's like, nothing's coming to mind.
No. And Matthew Stoller, actually, who's on the left, he did a comparison because he supports some of Trump's populist economic policies, which, again, if your coalition, if you have to win Pennsylvania and you have to win Wisconsin and you have to win Michigan, if that's your electoral map to victory, those messages, however much Republicans may disagree with them, some Republicans may have ideological disagreements with them, politically, those are the arguments that helped Trump win over those Obama voters who then went for him in 2016. And so he needs to be really vocal about those messages over and over again. And I mean, I think there's this double-edged sword to Donald Trump, that the bad, tweeting about Mika Brzezinski's facelift at 6 a.m. is also necessarily attached to the good, which is going way harder on the left than a lot of other Republicans have been willing to over the years. And that's another thing that helps him win. So I don't necessarily know that some of that stuff, I think so many Trump voters are just the kind of people who are like, I'm putting up with Donald Trump. It's not that I love Donald Trump. It's just I put up with him because I don't care how much he swears or tweets. I care about these horrible gender surgeries for minors. I care about the left selling my jobs out to China. I care about a wide open border that you are lying about or openly defending. And so I think that's, still on Trump's side in those states. But to do that, he just has to be hammering, like you said, Megyn, it has to be the central part of his message. He has to be making it obvious and blatant over and over again, day in and day out. That is not happening right now.
Some Americans enjoy using their credit cards because it can be a hassle-free and secure way to pay. But our sponsor, the American Payments Coalition, says that some DC politicians want to change that with the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill. They say the bill lets corporate megastores pick how your credit card is processed, allowing them to use untested payment networks that jeopardize your data security and rewards. They say corporate megastores will make more money and you will wind up paying the price. Find out more info at guardyourcard.com and consider telling Congress to guard your card while you're there, too. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.